Okay, new data, new ideas, new ways to face punch Charizard. So let's start off with what we got wrong last time. Everything that wasn't Azumarill, and even parts of the Azumarill we got wrong, but not for the reasons you think. These Charizard are level 100, as opposed to the previously assumed level 75. They always have a modest nature, and have the buggy rage system mechanics on its side. Universally, it seems to get a battle start overheat from the get-go before you're even capable of putting in any inputs, followed up immediately with a stat purge of any debuffs, and around 50% of the time, it seems to get a follow-up Hurricane for free before you're even capable of reacting. The ability to spontaneously regenerate health, which we'll get into right later. And all of this seems deliberately to counteract the main strategy we have been having to use to beat these things. Belly Drum Huge Power Azumarill. Reason being, it either depletes your HP too quickly to be capable of using Belly Drum, or drops your HP so much, but leaves you enough to use Belly Drum, that the third attack is capable of using follow-up just straight one-shots you after that, thus wasting every time that you use, and even further depleting the time you have left. And this is the main problem. Winning is incredibly luck-based. You need to dodge enough overheats, enough fire blasts, and especially hurricanes without getting burnt or confused, or hoping that it just spams Terra Blast or Dragon Pulse so that it does no damage. While you are slowly chipping it down with every play rough you can get, while still having Belly Drum to power apply. As for what we got right about Azumarill, that was really the only thing we got right. Its typing is the main reason it is so viable. Everything else is going to get nuked by every fire move, especially those battle start overheats, fire blast, and the only thing Azumarill is afraid of is that Hurricane, whereas everything else has to contend with, well, the fire type moves, and it can just shrug off those ones. The use of the Healing Cheer is completely unutilized. I did not anticipate the, well, bugginess and rigged nature of the Charizard moves, getting 2 free moves before the get-go, needing a third move following use of Belly Drum, meaning you need to luck your way into victory, or get those Healing Cheers going. 3 people go for Belly Drum, 1 person go for Healing Cheer, 1 person debuffing the special attack, person who's debuffing the special attack, using the Healing Cheer person as well. There is a lot that goes into the setup, and if you pull it off, you can reliably win. What do you mean by reliably? I mean maybe a 60% chance. The strategy of this pretty much is 3 people go for Belly Drum with Azumarill. 1 person uses a special attack decreasing move, such as Spirit Break and Grimmsnarl, and then heals Cheer on the second turn, provided you didn't get knocked out on the first turn. After that, spam, play, rough. Alternatively, Grimmsnarl could use Light Screen. And then just continuously refresh the use of the Healing Cheer to continue restoring your HP.
Before we continue on with the next segment of the video, I'd like to ask you guys to please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. It's free, it helps out the channel, and really helps with making more of these discussion long-form videos that help you guys optimally beat down these raid targets.
To further the HP restoring point, Held Item. We got completely wrong. The Shell Bell is the instrumental item. This will provide gradual and residual healing throughout the entire course of the fight, which is extremely useful. The berry is one-time use and then it's done, and it doesn't provide enough healing to offset the damage Charizard is doing with Hurricane. The Shell Bell, you are dealing out so much damage you will be recovering more health per hit than the berry was doing normally. I've frequently seen Azumarill go from sub-half to full just from the Charizard taking damage. As mentioned before, Grimmsnarl is another option, and it is fantastic. This is actually what we used to win, and through the use of Spirit Break, Light Screen, Misty Terrain to prevent burns and status conditions, it really supports the team very well. It will not be doing damage on its own all that much, but it allows survival of the Azumarill, which the Azumarill is the damage dealer. It is the thing that keeps the Azumarill alive. Keeping the Azumarill alive is the critical point, and the Healing Cheer from the Grimmsnarl player and the damage reduction that it is capable of providing keeps them going. It keeps you from needing to waste more time refreshing belly drums, and using belly drum only once is preferable to using it twice, because then you lost time, or from the faint out, you lost time from the turns, and you're able to pump out damage much more rapidly. You are sacrificing Azumarill damage on one player, however, that is more than compensated with the increased survivability. The use of the Grimmsnarl also does lessen the luck-based nature, again, making it more along the lines of a 60-40 split, where you win more reliably than you lose, however, you still have a chance of losing if your RNG is bad. Namely, burns, critical hits, confusions. Those early 2 moves, those are the real losers. If you can get past probably the first 3 moves Charizard puts out, your odds of winning are pretty much 95% of the time you're going to win. Because those are the critical moments. Those 3 attacks, actually 4, those are the killers. This is now where we get into the buggy nature of the raids. And this is something that is only really evident with Azumarill using Huge Power Belly Drum in these raids. And this applies to not just Azumarill in the Charizard raid, but Azumarill and even to a degree Iron Hands in many other raids. And that is, you deal so much damage so fast, the game either is deliberately trying to counteract how much damage you're doing too quickly to prevent you from just one-shotting the Charizard, as there have been several times in raids, some of them I'm recording, which may be going up right now, where the raid's health goes from green all the way to either done or in the red zone, and they go back to half health. This either is due to one of 2 things, however, the predominant one that is the prevailing one, which is it's bug. There seems to be a issue with damage calculation and damage display, where the damage will display doing far more damage than is actually done. Likely the display is calculating how much damage Belly Drum would do, not Belly Drum, Azumarill would do with Huge Power applied, but the damage calculator, because it is bugged, either does not factor in the Belly Drum Huge Power player off Azumarill damage, and lessens the overall power dealt, so you're doing less damage than you should. The other school of thought, which I don't want to think this is the real case, but I am, at this point, needing to accept it as a very realistic possibility, is the damage dealt isn't a bug. That is the amount of damage you are doing. You are taking that thing down to almost done with a single move. But there is programming within the raid to deliberately prevent, if damage exceeds this much, it cuts it off here. It just truncates damage. You can do like 1,000 damage. If it exceeds 1,000, we're only going to let you do 250. And this seems very reasonable considering the point of Terror Style raids is coordination, communication, work with other people. If a person can just come in and bulldoze the fight with a single Pokemon without needing to coordinate and cooperate with people, when that is the reason why Pokemon actually was the way it is. It's to get people to play together. This, I have to assume, is a very realistic possibility. It was deliberately designed to prevent Azumarill from doing this exact thing, or other similar Pokemon from doing similar feats, because this is something that happens with Iron Hands itself in other raids. Azumarill in other raids, the same thing appears. It's just specifically with the Charizard is particularly problematic, because with the other raids, you don't get knocked out as easily. With Charizard, you will get knocked out more frequently, so you can't really recover in the same capacity. This is also why I believe the 2 free moves at the start of the fight is done so, specifically to counteract Belly Drum strategies. The fact that we still manage to find ways of pulling off Belly Drum, despite this seeming anti-Belly Drum tactic, shows the power of Belly Drum Huge Power Azumarill, and the why it is so critical. But this goes into some other options that have actually proven their merit, and go into the bugged, deliberate counteracting nature that things severely lacking the power of Azumarill are still able to pull their weight. These are Flutter Mane, fantastically powerful against these Charizard raids. Its frail HP is not great. It has enormous special defense, enormous HP, and enormous special attack. With the energy booster, it's quite lethal. Then there's another option in Dashba. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. It is the evolution of Fido. Provided its ability is not negated, it is completely immune to fire, which means, like Azumarill, it's only afraid of Hurricane. And unlike Azumarill, it doesn't need to sacrifice its HP to activate Belly Drum, and it isn't in as substantial a risky place at the initial get-go of the fight, though it does compromise on power. Though again, as we have mentioned before, Azumarill's power is either deliberately or accidentally truncated, so the loss is not as significant, especially when, again, paired up with something like Grimmsnarl, decreasing special attack reliably or just decreasing special damage, allowing for increased reliability, allowing for a much more safe battle. Other options that have been floated around, people have said, Sylveon, Gardevoir, these do not work nearly as effective. They lack many of the individual strength that a lot of the other Pokemon have. What makes things like Flutter Mane so good is its absurd speed, its absurd special hits, and its absurd special attack. It is absolutely min-maxed to the extreme. Dashbun, it is immune outright to fire, Charizard's biggest damage dealer, which means it cannot be burnt. It is also not bulky, but it is slightly more prominent than the other fairy types. The reason the other fairy types are just, well, beyond Gardevoir failing is they lack that resistance, that immunity to fire, or that sheer special bulk. And while Sylveon is quite bulky, especially speaking, it lacks the offensive power. Yes, Pixelate and Fake Tears does allow it to do a lot of damage. That setup is far too long to allow for something like this, where timing is everything. 3 turns of Fake Tears and then a Hyper Beam? Yeah, it's gonna be strong. But in that same time, Azumarill can do its thing. You can have a Grimmsnarl that is debuffing the special attack and allowing for incurability of the entire team. And that is the main issue of these options versus things like Dashbun, versus things like Flutter Mane, versus things like Azumarill, versus things like Grimmsnarl. Certain Pokemon individually are not bad on their own, but they have no benefit to the overall team. And cooperation and coordination is the name of the game. Things beyond the initial individual player being benefited need to be considered. That's the reason why Grimmsnarl and the healing tier are so pivotal. Though it is possible to just go it with 4 Azumarills and literally punch Charizard to death. We've done this, and in fact, earlier today I managed to defeat this with, in stream with one of our friend Miju, with 3 Azumarill and a Heracross NPC. So yes, it is not impossible to do it with 3 people. It's not impossible to do it without these things. However, it is substantially more difficult, and it also seems that NPCs, when they are fainted out, do not actually cost you time. Which, again, shows more on the side of you do need to beat the clock, and Azumarill is the supreme character. But that's all we got here today. A little bit of an update thing. This will be helpful, of course, for the current Charizard raid cycle, as well as the later 15th through the 18th cycle. I've gotten both of mine, and thankfully, they are shiny locked. So we don't have to worry about getting any shiny, unrivaled Charizard. So, I'll see you guys next time. Let's rock and roll, even though rock and roll doesn't do too well against this Charizard today. And we're in the game. Adios.